welcome to the press conference of the 2023 TCS London Marathon, of course taking place Sunday, and we are back in its traditional April slot, the first time since 2019. Over the next 2 days, we'll be holding a number of press conferences with our star athletes who will be taking part in the incredible set of elite races on Sunday morning. Getting us underway is our British men's press conference, for which I'm delighted to be joined on stage by the new European 10-mile record holder, Emile Cairess, a man who doesn't seem to age, two-time Olympian Chris Thompson, and a runner that needs little introduction, probably the best British runner of all time, four-time Olympic champion, 6 times world champion, also the British marathon record holder, Sir Mo Farah, and we're delighted to have them on stage. We have the media in the room as well as those online. The media in the room, those looking to ask questions to our 3 up on stage, please raise your hands, give your name, give your organisation, and then obviously your question. For those online, please submit your questions to the online chat, and Ryan will be asking those questions after those in the room get their chance. For the media online, if we could ask them to please keep their microphones turned on mute for the whole time of the press conference. Thank you very much. So first, a chance to ask our athletes how their preparation has gone. I'll start with Emile. A fantastic 2022. Your 2023 has started in fantastic fashion as well. How have your final preparations gone, ready for Sunday's TCS London Marathon?
Yeah, everything's gone well. I've managed to do all the training that I planned, so when that happens, I think you can't ask for any more than that. Every session's gone well, so I'm really looking forward to the weekend. And
Chris, how are the legs feeling ready for Sunday?
Yeah, that's refreshing to hear a young person be so positive, because it's a bit harder at my age to be 100% like that. But yeah, I think it's been a decent build-up. As I was saying to Emile on driving from the photos, it's hard to have anyone build up the same. It seems like a different journey every time. This is my 8th marathon, and I'm just intrigued to see what happens. I'm hoping this will set me up for the year. I don't know if I've nailed every session like this chap has, but as I've learned from marathons, that doesn't, for me personally, doesn't mean everything. So I'm just excited to be here and be in the middle of these two, and hopefully give it a bash and see if I can mix it up.
And for yourself, Mo, obviously, cast your mind back to October. You got within a few sessions, didn't you, of towing the line, and obviously injury put you out of that race. How was your recovery, your time off, and how's preparation gone for Sunday?
Yeah, no, last year I was definitely gutted. I was in decent shape and just got injured just a week before the London Marathon. But that's athletics, it happens. But this year I'm back and I'm healthy, which is the key thing for me. I've been out in Ethiopia and training's gone well, so hopefully we'll see what we can do.
So we're delighted to have you 3 towing the line on Sunday. We've got some fantastic press in the room, so we're opening the questions out to the floor. We've got Ruby and Jake out on the floor with microphones. So who would ask the first of our questions to our top 3 on the table?
Don't be shy.
Microphone to John.
Hi there, Jonathan Galt here from Let'sRun.com. Question for Mo. I'm wondering if you could tell us about your recent race in Gabon. How indicative do you think that result was of your fitness, and did it concern you at all coming into this race?
Yeah, no, I had a little run in Gabon. It's a 10K race. I went out there while I was in Ethiopia. And that race was just kind of test myself and see, what I can do. But climate was really hot there. And always the key was, to prepare for the London Marathon. Had a lot of miles in my leg. But at the same time, it's just, that race was kind of thinking, didn't go as well as I wanted, but you got to go and move on and get ready for the next one. And now I'm healthy and hopefully be ready on Sunday, see what we can do.
It doesn't worry you at all?
Not at all. I think you got to look at the not just one race, but you got to look through your training consistency. And for me, the biggest thing is being able to do the training for so many weeks, which my body's allowing me, which is the main thing. And done some decent training over the last couple of months. So I'm happy in terms of where I am in my training, and I guess hopefully just now, ease down this week and then just go into it.
Thank you, Mo. Sean?
Sean Ingle, Guardian. Question for Mo first, and a question for all of you. Mo, how close have your workouts been with Bashir, given his run last week, 2:03? And if so, does that give you confidence for Sunday? And I guess secondly, do you have any plans to do the World Marathon this summer? And same question to you guys, if you do well this Sunday.
Yeah. First of all, I want to definitely congratulate my teammate Bashir Abdi, who won Rotterdam comfortably, 2:03, and looked like he could have gone run a lot faster. And I was very proud of him to see, what he could do, because as a kid, I remember him, first of all, training with him, and over the years, he's always kind of kept pushing and kept learning from me, and to see someone achieve that, I have to be very proud. And in terms of myself, I'm definitely confident that seeing him, what he could do and what I could do now, it does definitely inspire me and give me a massive confidence, and not just him, but also Abdi Nigay, who finished third in 2:05. So we were in the same group, and to go back to your question, in terms of sessions, we were pretty close, neck and neck at times. I wasn't always the one pushing, but I was there about, and that's definitely given me a big confidence. But the key thing is, just focus in your own thing or see what you can do. But seeing that definitely give me a massive boost and a confidence. Yeah, and then go back to your second question. Sorry, the World Championship. I'm not thinking anything other than this race. I have got a plan to do a couple of more races after that, but get London out of the way and finger it. And in terms of World Champs, I don't plan to go out there and race.
It was the World Champs question. Yeah. So you can't really, because we don't have a policy that there's no result tomorrow I could run on Sunday that means I go, guaranteed or anything. Like I could win the race in 2:03 and then I'd still have to wait for them to decide. So there's no point worrying about about trying to go, because there's no clear sign that any one of us will get a selection regardless of our result. And so, as sport does, control the controllables. After this race, I genuinely don't know what the rest of my year holds. And so I'll see off the back of the result what may come of that. But at the moment, I'm personally, sounds boring and cliche, but I'm just trying to get the best out of myself on Sunday. And I finally feel like, touch wood, over the next couple of days, lock myself in the room, I can put last year and the two mess-ups with the marathon last year behind me and actually still try and do something I'm proud of. Because even though I turned 42, there's no getting around it on Monday. It happened. I had a birthday.
Me too.
Yeah, I know. You got your 40 tag, didn't you? And so, like, I still, even though that's there in the background, I'm still have aspirations to do things. I technically haven't, other than the drama last year with the Worlds, I have made the last two major champs. So we'll see. And I can't worry about the next days until and just keep pushing it. But I think, yeah, that's kind of answers it. I'm trying to be open-minded.
I don't have any plans to do the marathon at Budapest, but hopefully I can qualify for the 10,000 meters if everything goes to plan. So, yeah, that's what I'm hoping to do in the summer.
Joe.
Hiya, Joe from the BBC. How are you, Mo?
I'm good, thank you.
It's great to see you here again, and I know how much it means to the marathon and to the people of London to have you back in this race. Two questions, really. How does it feel to you to be back in the London Marathon? Secondly, been a lot in the news this week about protests at sporting events. I'm sure you've seen it. Do you have any extra concern this year about security and safety in the marathon?
No, first of all, it's nice to be back in London. I love London, and this is, for me, home. This is where my journey started when I was a young boy doing the mini marathon, and I remember you interviewed me before, so it's always nice to come back here, and I do enjoy London, and hopefully Sunday, I'm looking forward to seeing the crowd and the people, atmosphere, And I think the key thing is just go out there, enjoy it. And as I said, I've not seen too much because the last 2 months I was out in Ethiopia training, and at times we would have power cut, we wouldn't have TV, so I was just kind of just concentrating training and playing games with, with the boys. I've not seen too much of it, but I think in terms of sports myself, as I said, always thinking next legacy, what could do, what we can do. And I think it's nice to see Emile joining us and seeing what he could do, that 10 mile, and seeing how the attitude of, athletes are changing, and seeing the work ethic that goes into it. And I think self-belief as well is the big thing. So it's just nice to see as I said, from an athlete who's been there and gone through the ranks, or, trained out in Ethiopia, Kenya, and then see what he's doing out there, basing himself in Kenya and try and learn from the best is a great attitude.
But in terms of the race, Mo, you'll trust the organisers, I guess, to make sure that everything goes smoothly, because, it always has in the past. So
no, for sure. I think London Marathon's always done a great job. You look over the years and what they've done, and I think they will continue to do a great job, and I guess we just have to leave it to them. But I'm sure they will do everything that they can, and for me, it's just been exciting to be back in London. It was always great. There's no better city than London.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
My next question.
Rob Harris from Sky News. Just to follow up on that, there is all the sort of talk of environmental protests. We saw at the Grand National that was disrupted. Is it a cause that actually means something to you, the fact people think their only route to maybe gain attention for the crisis in the environment is to protest at sport?
As I said, is that for me, question? I think for all of us, we love seeing sport. We love watching our team, and that's what we're passionate about. And I think on Sunday, people want to see the best athletes go out there and race and put on a good show. And I think for us as an athlete, we just have to go and do the best that we can and concentrate on what we're doing. I think sports, we all love sport, but you trust the London Marathon and the officials, and will always do a great job.
I was going to say, I was sitting there thinking about what you're saying, because I've seen a couple of them, but I feel like what a better statement for all these causes than thousands of people running the streets of London for health and well-being reasons, and we're raising money for charity. I mean, the race in itself is a statement. So I'd like to think, if anything, London Marathon as a sporting event stands out as a something to aspire to do. I mean, my mum's running her first marathon this weekend. She's pushed herself in ways she never thought before. And that, to me, just watching how she's done that is a statement of intent and what physically running can do for health and well-being and all these different causes in itself. But yeah, so I think the event itself is kind of sets a precedence in a way.
Yeah, I think because London Marathon raises so much money for charity and good causes, although I think the environment is obviously another good cause, I don't think they should put themselves in front of other good causes, and just sort of respect the people raising money for charity this weekend, and then I'm sure the people raising money for charity this weekend will respect the environmental cause at a different time.
Hi, Tom Desborough from The Times. A question for Emile, as it's your debut for over the distance going into Sunday. I was just wondering if the thinking is to just sort of learn the distance, sort of take in the day, or are you going in with sort of more of a race target, a time target in mind?
I think it's a little bit of both. Obviously, like any race, I want to perform the best and try and achieve a target, but I think the primary objective is to learn the race and have a good experience, and then hopefully I can take that to future races where I can be more competitive with the top guys, and so this is just a platform for that, I think.
And just sort of a follow-up question as well. You said you want to focus more on the 10,000 for the Worlds. Would that be the thinking going into Paris next year, or if the Sunday's race goes well, would you look to maybe go for the marathon for the Olympic Games, or would you rather stick down with a shorter distance on the track?
I definitely think the marathon is where my future lies, and hopefully if everything goes well, I can try and be competitive in Paris in the marathon. I don't see my future on the track, but I feel like it's a valuable stepping stone that you need to go through to be competitive in the marathon. So that's why I'm going to be focusing on the track this summer. And yeah, I'll always be doing shorter distances regardless, even though I consider myself a marathon runner.
Emile, how much confidence did Valencia last year, obviously the 10-kilometre equal British record, and obviously the half marathon 60-30, how much confidence did that give you into your preparation into London?
I think they did give me some confidence that things were moving in the right direction, but I train really hard, and I think all my training gives me the most confidence. I see where my times are at and how that compares with like what the top guys are doing, and as long as I'm moving closer to that each month, then I'm not too concerned about any particular one race. So yeah, I'll just be looking to better myself in all the distances and stuff like that, and keep working hard in training, and hopefully, yeah, that'll just lead me to better results.
And have you got half an hour on the Bradford Grammar School marathon record?
Yeah, it'd definitely be a nice thing to do, but yeah, Richard's a great runner, and yeah, all of his times are not easy to beat. I've had some difficulty in doing that, but yeah, we'll see if that comes, but it's not something I'm too focused on.
Yeah, we were joking off earlier because you obviously took his 10-mile record recently.
I knew it was.
But he claims he's got a lot of the 12 and 30-mile records that can't be beaten now. So.
Yeah. I remember we have a few courses at school, and yeah, Richard and the Brownlees and a few of the guys had really quick times that I wasn't able to beat. But yeah, if I can beat the marathon one, I'd value that a little bit more. But yeah, we'll just see what happens.
Brilliant. Any other questions on the floor? Jonathan again?
Another question for Mo. You said earlier this year that this is likely going to be your last year, and when a lot of athletes get towards the end of their career, they feel a different range of emotions. What emotions have you been feeling as you train and you get near the end of your career?
Yeah, it's definitely been quite emotional the last couple of years. And as an athlete, you always want to go out there and do the best that you can. But last 2 years, my body hasn't been allowing me to do what I needed to do in training, and that's the hardest thing. And I think even myself, I take it for granted. When you're an athlete and you get to the top, and when you get to the top, you don't change your routine. You just go race after race, training each year. And for me, for many, many years, like 8 or 10 years, you take it for granted because you just think, it's almost like reprogram, and you just keep going and keep going. But now as you get older, that totally changes because your body, you can't do what you did or a couple of years ago when you get injured. And for me, that's been most frustrating because it's just like, well, nothing's changed. I've just been doing, but you can't do it because it happens. And last 2 years, it's definitely been tough. And again, as I said, even London last year, just week and a half out, getting injured was hard because I see my teammate, I see the guy I was training with and going well, and him finishing third, and you watching on telly going, but that's athletics. And I think the key thing is for me is that as long as I stay injury free and be free and can do the work, then I will continue as you said. But my body's not allowing me, and I think, as I said, Sunday it was probably be my last marathon in terms of, just being realistic and seeing it. It will be my last marathon. It won't be my last race, but in terms of marathon, I think London Marathon will be my last. And I started the mini marathon here, so for me, it'd be quite emotional because I remember 14 years old, I was here watching, great athletes going, they're running on Sunday, and you taking part in the mini marathon. So, and the support, the people when they come out in London, I think that would get to me. But I'll try not to think about it and just try and run. And after the race, maybe there might be a bit of tears and a bit emotional.
So you wouldn't run a full marathon then?
That is it. That's it. I don't know if my body can do it. As I said, week in, week out.
Finish this one, yeah.
I'm going to finish this one. I have to finish. There's no question of a doubt. But yeah, get this one out of the way, and then this is it. Okay. You got me there. I was like, what did I say?
We just assume we're going to finish, don't
we? We have to do. there.
So it's a good question. Whilst Emile sat there, in terms of longevity, you two have stayed, at the peak of international performances. You're now Masters athletes, battling out for the Masters Championships at the weekend as well. What's your advice to Emile, and what's kept you coming back? You talk about the training, Mo. You talk about still putting the hard work in. How have you adapted things over the last few years? As age has crept up on you.
Yeah, age does catch up with you and your body. Is how, if I were to give any advice to many, is be able to just, keep working hard, keep believing yourself, and you're still young. You got a future ahead of you, so don't be afraid. He's already putting himself out there to be with the best guys in Kenya. So just keep doing that and keep believing yourself, and just keep enjoying it. And don't take things for granted. That's what I would say myself. I think for many, many years I took stuff for granted, and just being able to think you could do it, and you keep doing it, but then you do get to a stage where the body's not allowing you. So just I'm sure he's got the right team behind him, and just keep enjoying it and live that moment.
I was drifting off thinking about it, but I think, I'd say first of all, because I haven't spent a huge amount of time with you, have I? And I've spoken a few times, but I have to say I've been watching. I mean, crikey! When you said 14, I was thinking back. I would have been 16, and that's the 90s. That's a different century. But anyway, I digress. And through the years, we've both seen a lot of young athletes come and go, and for me personally, I've not obviously hit the heights of Mo. I've been proud to keep myself somewhat in the game and somewhat relevant over those years with highs and lows. And you do see, and I'm proud to have sort of outlasted athletes who were much younger, but Emile has got a presence about him and the way you've talked that's really impressed me. And I think just keep that, because it's not often you get an athlete that's precocious but humble and ambitious and all the right blend of all these different things. And so firstly I want to commend you for that, and I'm actually genuinely excited to see what you can do, not just this weekend but going forward. And I will follow, because again, we've all actually, one thing we've all got in common, we've all been coached by Alan. I'm still coached by Alan Story. You started your career with Alan Story. You had a good chunk with Alan Story. And so there is a bit of a connection there, but I think for advice-wise, I would say keep that hunger, keep that sort of naivety a little bit, and don't let the baggage of expectation and all these things creep in, and keep trying to figure yourself out, because when you get older, you'll rely on having to constantly relearn yourself and relearn to keep yourself in the game. Like every year now, I'm trying to go, what am I now? What's my strengths and weaknesses to keep myself relevant? As Mo says, you're constantly trying to figure that out, and your learning years are now. But I'm more impressed, and I'm looking forward to see what you go on to do, mate. So yeah, thumbs up. I'm saying that in front of him, but I'd have said that even if they weren't here, honestly.
All right, what is he paying you?
Yeah, no, sounds a bit mushy, but it is nice. It's exciting. I think this is one of the most exciting. And again, this is not to, it's one of these, for me, it is this weekend with Eilish and Emile, two of the most exciting marathon debuts I think British has seen in a while. And regardless of how they do, I think both of them could be here for a while and do some exciting things.
Yeah, for sure. As you said, you got Eilish, and also in terms of what youngsters coming through, they are some great athletes who have that determination. And when you see them, you're like, yeah, it could be someone.
And Emile, what's it like to be on stage with two athletes that I'm sure you're a student of the sport? Anyone that doesn't know, Emile was self-coached at certain points and obviously sought out some great advice and gone and found people to tap into, like Alan, like Renato at the moment. And how is it to be on the stage and now be on the same start line and and in that progression as yourself as an athlete and someone that, as I said, is someone that is a lover of the sport?
Yeah, it's a little bit surreal, to be sat alongside these two guys. I think it's easier to take, to digest, my progress with running rather than, all the stuff that comes around it. I think that's the more difficult thing, like doing the social media or doing stuff like press conference. I think just taking all of that on board, it's a big like learning curve, and yeah, it's great to be. It's a great position to be in because yeah, if I'm sat next to these two guys, I'm doing something right.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Any more questions from the floor? Ewan?
Hi, Ewan Crumley from Athletics Weekly. It's a question for Mo and Chris, just carrying on the theme of advice to Emile, obviously, who hasn't sampled the full marathon yet. What was the biggest challenge around the distance that you two discovered when you first stepped up, and what would be the sort of the biggest piece of advice to anyone sort of taking on the distance for the first time?
Yeah.
Your debut was 14, wasn't it?
14,
so we
yeah.
both did our debut together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my debut was back in 2014, and I think the hardest thing is, you know, when you see athletes who, you know, gone to the marathon and what they run, and they're like, so and so's run this, so and so's run this, and sometimes you go, okay, if he runs this time, I can run it, and I think that was the hardest thing, because first marathon, you should be able to go, okay, I'm in great shape, I'm good to go, I'm confident in myself. Just go out there and run your own race and just see how you feel and get through it. Don't put pressure on yourself where you go, I'm going to go and run this time. Because when you put your pressure on, there's a lot of pressure and you get to tense. So just run free, go out there, and as you see, most marathons often, it's not always your best one straight away. It will be personal best. But later on, then you can look back and go, I felt great at 30K. I felt bad at 30K, and you can learn from it and change your training from there. But first one, go out there, enjoy it, and set a personal best.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, that, purely because I think the way shoe tech has changed things, it's changed things to such an extent that when I think back to my debut in 2014, I ran 2:11, and it's still to this day the most emotional, I'll probably shut your ears because it doesn't, it's the most painful, horrible, excruciating, like, I went to a place I've never been to before. That last 2-3 miles, all I could see was Ryan Buck's backside, and I was just trying to stay as close to him as possible, and I was just, everything that day was just very emotional, very tough, and even the training building up to it. So Alan coached me and Scott Overall, and I went through, like, I put a level of expectation of what marathon training was, which was unrealistic, and I almost took my track experience and thought, I've just got to train like a 10K runner, but use that intensity in marathon. It was a bit unrealistic and it was tough. And I don't think it's like that anymore. I think the shoes have, even for me, I'm just trying to understand the shoes, and my point I'm trying to get to is, I think these days, I think marathon experiences are unique, they're different, they're tough in a different way. And I think that's where, for someone like you going into this, you can be a little bit more open-minded, and it's not necessarily you versus the event. I felt like it was a challenge between me and a marathon, whereas now, we don't know what the best way to operate with these shoes are. We don't know. The marathon running is still being blown open, in my opinion, and I think you're a part of an exciting generation that almost like what I learned is kind of almost becomes irrelevant, because you can do so much more. I mean, even for this marathon, I've trained completely differently because the shoe tech gives you more. If I tried to train like I did for a 2:11 guy back in the day, I wouldn't survive because it would just be too tough. So I think it's kind of a difficult one, and I think for you, just be open-minded, experiment, play around with it, be the first athlete to figure out the best way to run with these things. Because I think the best. I know the Ingebrigtsens have kind of played around with double days, and it's becoming the thing to do double thresholds and all these things. Crikey, back then, you did double day, you'd be in bed for 2 weeks. So yeah, just play around with it, see what you can do, and shock us. Do it.
I hope your mum's got super shoes for Sunday as well.
No, I said no. She just needs to get round.
So we are a little bit pressed for time. I know some of the press have one-to-ones with yourselves after this, but we do have some online questions that Ryan from our press team is going to read out. Down to you, Ryan.
Thanks, James. Yeah, first up is Michael from TalkSport, and he has a question for Mo, which is, which would you prefer, Arsenal to win the Premier League this season or to win the marathon on Sunday?
Arsenal.
Really? Come on, Mo.
No, I'm joking. It's a tough one to answer, that one. Honestly. Yeah, it's a tough one now.
Well, I think the question is, are they going to win it regardless of what happens to you on Sunday?
To win the league or on Sunday?
Winning the league. Will Arsenal win the league?
No, always London. I would say London. Yeah. It's a tough one.
What a terrible fan you are.
And we have a question for Emile from Jack from The Independent, which is, what's the process been for deciding your strategy on debut? Will you be conservative with the potential to go again in the autumn and winter? Is there a second marathon planned for later in the year, perhaps Valencia?
Yeah, I think in the plan at the moment is doing Valencia in December. If everything goes how I hope it goes, and then with regards to the this weekend, probably somewhere in between being conservative and aggressive, just feeling out the race and not doing anything silly, I think is the plan.
And so that's it, I think, from our top three. Thank you very much.
You're not even going to make one up for me?
There was one online for you, Chris. And thank you, Mo. So, yeah, best of luck for the TCS London Marathon on Sunday. I'm sure there's going to be loads of people.
Are we in the Master
cheering.
race?
And the Masters race is going to be much anticipated.
What's the Masters British record?
Is it Andy Davis's 2:15? Yeah, so that might have gone.
Good chance of that, haven't we?
We'll have a sprint.
You might have it already. Like, what have you run since you're 40?
For the marathon? No, because Q was like 2 weeks before my birthday, and then I had visa issues and illnesses, so I didn't run the next two. So I haven't run a marathon since I've turned 40, actually.
2:15, so I think that could be on borrowed time. So thank you again to the three of you, and we return at 3 o'clock. We have our international men's press conference. We have defending champion Amos Kipruto. We have the world champion Tamrat Tola, and we have the fastest debutant of all time. That's Kelvin Kipton coming up at 3 o'clock. So thank you very much to our media. Thank you very much to Mo, Chris, and Emile.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.